Your Heavenly Father, please help us to make great decisions for the people of Alcorn County. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. It's the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No, it should be the flags. Everybody in the audience is just looking at our back. Allegiance to your backs. Anyway. Moving on, roll call please.
Brumman. Here. Johnston.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Small.
Here.
Yax.
Here. Is there audio live, guys? I don't even have a button anymore, do we?
It's right there. It's moving
The
them.
green?
It's green.
All right, excellent. John doesn't cuss anybody with the audio anymore, he just watches. Okay, great. I need to add, something to the agenda under new business is the opioid, committee report and motion requests.
I get a chance to ask you, could personnel would like to have a closed session for a moment of time to discuss a letter we got for sheriff's department.
Union related?
Yeah.
I think that, well, we'll go into a session for that.
Yeah, let me double check. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, we're not in, I mean, it's not negotiations specifically, but it's in response to,
Can we add it in after the second public comment?
whenever you want. It's not, yeah, you can do it wherever.
Well, find out, make sure
Scott was gonna come
Can't
over.
sit with us, so.
Yeah.
So, after second public comment, we'll, add that in if that's all. Okay. Okay, with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 19th, 2023 regular meeting. Seconded. Moved to seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll begin with public comment, limited to 3 minutes per person. Please identify yourself and your township. When you are ready. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Jeff Linderman, Oscoda Township, riparian Cedar Lake. I was before this board 2 weeks ago and presented a lot of information to you. And there were some questions that were sent in prior to that meeting in regards to the Cedar Lake Improvement Board. I was wondering what are our next steps for dialogue and those questions to be discussed.
Okay,
And if you had any other additional questions about the presentation or the questions I asked.
so public comment is really for question and answer.
Right, correct.
Okay, so,
Yes. But I'm just looking
okay,
if we can either via email or something, the next step to what I presented.
Okay.
I don't want to take up the board's time today.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Public comment, anybody else? Oh, yes,
Yeah, Patrick Smiley, Alcona County Veterans. Last week, our service officer was in Traverse City for the Michigan Association of County Veterans meetings. And they had classes and stuff there for them. The past president has retired in the state, and 4 guys are running for his office. And our man won. Tony's now the president of the Michigan Association of County Veterans Councils. Some of us to be very proud of in Alcona County. This is really, really going to be a good thing. So I think especially the last 3-4 years from our veterans not having hardly any support, and nobody's fault in here. It was financial reasons in the county. We all know that. But I think we've come a long, long way of helping our veterans and our main man because of Tony. I'm very honored and proud that I was one voted for him when he came on board. There was 4 guys that we interviewed. Tony made us a promise and he kept it. So just thought I'd run that passage, let you know that Alcona County, 83 counties in this state. Alcona County, we got a president. It's pretty cool.
What name of it again? Okay.
Oh, his exact title is the President of the Michigan Association of County Veterans Counselors.
Okay, thanks.
So when you see him, congratulate him, it'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Next, please.
Judge Laura Frawley, I'm the presiding trial court judge, but a recovery court judge. I thought that Zach Williams was gonna be here today to talk to you. I've had the opportunity to meet with the opioid committee on a couple of occasions. And I know Zach was gonna talk to the board about recovery residences. We've talked to the opioid committee about that as well. And I just want to strongly support that. I don't know if he'll be coming to you. We'd like to use some of the opioid money for that, but the recovery court has also received a bequest from someone who's given us a chunk of money, and obviously we're going to be working with Zach. This is a huge problem. One of the things that we pointed out to the opioid committee is it's priority one for us to have some recovery residences in the area, because we can send somebody to rehab, give them all the tools, get them clean. But if they're living in a home with a family or other people who are using, it's all pointless. And so we've seen better long-term success with people who can live in a recovery home for a period of time till they get their feet under them. And so we don't have anything like that in this area. So I'm just here to strongly support. I don't know why Zach is not here today. I was told he was going to be here, but if he comes and does a presentation, I just want you to know that we are certainly behind that. We see it as a #1 priority for helping people to sustain their sobriety long-term. And so we're behind that 100%. The recovery, how's that? Here, I'm supporting you and you haven't even said anything. So he'll do his presentation, but I just want you to know that we are 100% on board with the whole concept of recovery residences and having one in our region so that we can send people. It certainly will help. And those of you who are new and don't know much about recovery court, regular court, we have about a 78 to 82% reoffense rate. In recovery court, the worst recidivism rate we've ever had is 14%. So it's making a difference. We've saved millions of dollars in jail bed days. We've had families reunited, people get custody of their kids back. We've had over 40 people graduate from high school, getting their GED. We've had 8 people graduate from college who've gone through the program. And I'm not saying that everybody stays sober the rest of their life, but they're not coming through the criminal justice system anymore. So it's a very successful program. We're very proud of what we do, but our goal is to keep these people sober for the rest of their lives. And a recovery residence is key in seeing that happen. So I just want you to know we're 100% in support of that.
Thank you. Yes.
Patty Johns, Harrisville Township. I'm here to support everything that Judge Frawley just said. I have been meeting with the opioid funding group since they first organized, and I am very much in support of the concept of a recovery home for people to go to. When treatment is finished, you have to have some kind of a supportive environment to be living in. I was head nurse on the Neuropsychiatric Institute in Ann Arbor in the late 60s and early 70s. It was a different drug issue at that point, but we knew perfectly well that if people spent 2 weeks at the hospital and went home to the same situation they were living in, the same environment where drugs were readily available and nobody was supervising what they were doing, it was just a vicious circle. So I'm totally in support, and I think that the presentation that Zach made to our opioid funding group was very helpful, and I encourage the commissioners to, very emotionally considering the lives that can be saved and the money that can be saved for the county, for all of the tax dollars that go to support a vicious circle that goes nowhere. This is something that will definitely reap benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody in house, anybody online? Okay, moving on.
Move back to the top. There's the- Yeah.
Damn. I'll be right back. I'll tell you what, we'll put Zach up in the door and get on first, get on his way. Mr. Hartley, please, if you would.
I reached out to PFN about 2 weeks ago. PFN is a phone provider, internet provider in the area. Currently, we are having issues with our current provider Frontier. We've had outages, cost is high, services lackluster. So I asked for a quote of what it would cost, and it's gonna save us about $600-700 a month to go with PFN. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but I want to come for the board and get your guys' stamp on it. We won't notice any difference other than better service. They do our 911 lines and they're our current backup internet. Our 911 lines have never been down. Frontier has gone down probably 3 or 4 times in the last month or two. So it seemed kind of like a no-brainer, but I wanted you guys to stamp of approval on it before I went ahead and did it. Any questions?
No, looks pretty cut and dry, I mean.
I think you can do it. I mean, yeah, you can hold on it, or you can,
Right, but I wanted the approval of the board price. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and do this.
go ahead and get better service for less money.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
I like it.
Sorry.
Okay, then, if you would, Mr. Williams, I'm gonna move you up by the Doug here because they're being told he's gonna be a long-winded individual.
I'm not today. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet. So hi, I'm Zachary Williams. I'm a peer recovery coach with Catholic Human Services. I'll celebrate, I'm a graduate of the 81st District Drug Court. And I'll celebrate 5 years of time next month. So I've been a recovery coach with CHS for 2.5 years, and I did it for about a year as a volunteer while I was running my home improvement business.
No.
What's that? Oh, and it got to be where I was doing so much recovery coaching work that I wasn't getting any contracts. I got a call from NEMSAS, who is the organization who trains peer recovery coaches, and they told me there was a job opening at CHS, and so I took that. And you know, it was my goal right when I graduated drug court to start a recovery. I knew it was something that we didn't have in our area, and it was something that was really helpful in my recovery. I went to addiction treatment services in Traverse City, and my family was in New Mexico at the time because that's where we were living. And I flew back here, went to treatment there, and I knew I couldn't go back to New Mexico. My wife wanted to go back home to Ascota. I knew I couldn't go there. So I made the choice to go to the recovery residence that was right across the street of ATS and did the ran by ATS. And I stayed there for 6 months, and that was integral to my recovery. You know, it was amazing. Another thing that I want to say about having recovery residents in your community is it builds recovery capital as we bring in, you know, that house. We've had 16 individuals in it, and you know, as it rotates, as people graduate, you know, some people stay. We ask for a minimum of 3 months, but we like people that stay for about a year, 6 months to a year. It really helps them get a footing. Those people, because they've got sponsors living in the same house with them, you know, they've got recovery coaches living in the same house with them. They've got a house manager that's got, you know, at that time, my house manager had 30 years of sobriety, so he was the driving force that kept us all grounded, and also lifted us up. You know, he expected all of us to not only have a job and attend meetings and all the stuff that I've got laid out in these policies and procedures right here, But to become leaders in our recovery community, he encouraged us to go to, we had to go to 5 meetings a week. And he encouraged us not just to go to those meetings, but to go early and make coffee and sponsor other individuals and become leaders. And that's what happens when you have an environment that fosters recovery in your community. So I've got some stuff that I want to hand to you here. It's basically just some broad strokes of policies, procedures, onboarding applications and such. I brought 4 copies because my copier stopped on me, so I apologize about that.
There, you give a copy to,
Absolutely. And if you guys can share. Okay. All right, we need to.
Figure it
No, that's all ready. Okay.
Those ladies first.
It's, this is stuff that's, going to change. It's pretty close to what we want to do. I just wanted to provide a little bit of an outline of what it would look like if we were open. We would have a packet like that would start an individual out. And it starts with an application, to come into the program, and it's probably not in order, but, there would be an application process. There would be a background check, there's only a couple things that would keep you out of the house, but there are some things that would keep you out of the house. We talked at the last meeting about giving preferential treatment to people in Alcona County, and I actually extend that to Iosco. I would say we would give preferential treatment to people in Iosco and Alcona County, because we have a drug court here, and we know it's a big problem having housing for people that are in drug court. We've already purchased the building. Like I said, this is something that I planned on doing regardless of any grant funding. I was a little naive as to how hard it was going to be. But at the same time, I have been able to get funds from private sources, that believe in what we're doing. Peggy Gilbert from Gilbert's Drugstore, they support us fully and have offered financial support. We've got financial support from a couple of private donors that have helped us get as far as we've got, which is basically to buy the building, and a lot of that came out of just my pocket. We've already upgraded all the electrical to 200 amp service because we're expecting, I think it was 60 amp when we moved in, so we had to upgrade a lot of that. I've got a lot of estimates. I didn't get them all because I got a call from my plumber right before I was coming in today, and he's been missing in action for about a week, and he just found out his brother has brain cancer, so he's been down in Ann Arbor, and I didn't know that. So I don't have my plumbing. Is probably one of the largest costs that I'm going to have, although he is donating a lot of his time, and I've already bought a lot of materials. It's still a significant cost because we need a new furnace. Our furnace is like about 86% efficient, and it's on its last leg if it works at all. Already purchased the on-demand hot water heater, but there are some larger things. It's a concrete building. It's the old veterinary clinic on F41. The old veterinary hospital, Dr. Carpenter's place. It's only a couple miles from the Alcona border. It's secluded enough to not be right next to the liquor store, but yet close enough to Coletta and P&L and all those other places you could work out in the base. I look at this as an opportunity for individuals to not just come and have a safe place to live where they're going to be drug tested. And our lease agreements, our shared living expense agreement, basically provides that, and you'll see right in the regulations, it says, upon a relapse, you'll be immediately evicted. And we have to put that in there, although it's not necessarily true. It depends on the circumstances. Obviously, we're not, it's just like in drug court, we would look at each case individually. We're looking at not just providing a safe place for them to live, but we want to partner with agencies like MSU Extension. They provide a number of services, financial planning, healthy cooking, healthy eating, healthy lifestyles. We want to teach coping skills, we want to teach financial planning, we want to teach We want to help people get careers, not just jobs. We want to partner with Michigan Works. Marita Green is the opioid life coach for Iosco County. And I'm pretty sure Alcona is going to have one coming down the pipe here pretty soon. If not, I think it will be the girl from Alpena that would cover Alcona County. But anyway, we're partnering with Marita Green to provide services where they can not only put somebody through trade school, but they can put them through college, you know, for the first 2 years. They can put them through an apprenticeship program at Coletta. They've got all those relationships set up, not just with Coletta, but with a lot of different manufacturers around Iosco and Alcona County. I've got a lot of great contacts with a lot of great employers around this area. And as I see, you know, I mean, look at what we're suffering right now. If you guys have heard, you know, Wilson Brew Pub is closing permanently. Emmanuel Mission closed permanently. You know, there's one volunteer organization and one for-profit business that doesn't have people to volunteer or to work. And last time I had one of my recoveries working at Wilsey's, they were making pretty good money. You know, it's not like, you know, it was a good job. You know, a line cook, I think, was making $15, $16 an hour. And that's not bad for this area right now. However, they were unable to make it because there's not enough people here, enough young people that want to work. My first career was culinary arts. So one of the partners of the LLC, Matthew Barnett, he's a certified chef. He's we actually started the American Culinary Federation chapter here 24 years ago. And that started the IRESA program that Kim Fosgate, the chef that runs that program now for the individuals at IRESA in Tawas. That program all started through the American Culinary Federation. And now they turn people out with state certification for kitchen sanitation. That's something that's required if you're going to start a restaurant, and something that every restaurant wants their employees to have. So we're partnering with organizations like that to have people, if they want to go down that road, you know, learn those kind of skills and get those certifications so that they can fill those roles, and hopefully we can have a few nice restaurants around here again. So anyway, just talk about some of the deficits that we're having there. This absolutely brings, you know, I don't know if you guys know a lot about people that are in recovery, or people that survive addiction. If you survive 5 years of active addiction, the numbers show that you're of a very high level of intelligence and a very high level of adaptivity. Okay, so you're able to cope in situations where somebody who hasn't maybe survived the kind of life circumstances that you have, it gives you a little bit of an edge. And we see that, you know, I saw it at the Recovery House over in Traverse City. We see it in drug court. Some of the people that we graduate, you know, are leaders in our community. You know, I went to college twice and I flunked out. You know, that wasn't for me. But I've ran 3 successful businesses, and you know, in the middle of starting a 4th. I built Route 23 barbecue with Matt Barnett and started that business with them, and very successful. Until his wife passed and we didn't have anyone to run in front of the house. So we're in the process of selling that one for the same issues as Dean Wilsey's having. We can't get anybody to staff the place. So where we're at right now, we've got the building, we've got the electrical, we've got the plumbing kind of ironed out. I met with our concrete guy this week and got an estimate for him. Basically, there's some rules when you start a recovery house. You want to be MAR certified, which is the Michigan Association of Recovery Residences. And they have a guidebook that we are adhering to strictly because we have to. Without that certification, you're just a bunch of guys sharing rent, and that's not what we want. You know, we want a facility that's federally recognized, that's state recognized. And if we have that, and we meet those criteria, and that's why I had to meet with my concrete guy to make sure that we have the right kind of showers, the right size showers, bathroom stalls and stuff, so that we're handicap accessible. We don't want to leave anybody out. So we were able to meet that, and he came in so far under what I budgeted him for. I was blown away. So just a shout out to George Smith. He really gave us a great bit on that. But in terms of costs, we still need quite a bit. once we get the construction done, we still have to furnish the building. We're not looking to you guys as our only source of funding. There is a grant available to us, and I think it might be in that packet. If not, I'll have it at the tour on the 12th, for a $20,000 reimbursement grant. That will cover a lot of our, I think it'll cover all of our furnishings. There's some things and there's some rules and there's stuff that they can't pay for. They can't pay for construction costs. They can only pay for furnishings and services and stuff like that. So what I'm looking for out of the opioid settlement money, and I just spent the last week reading through the NVHHS guidelines on how it's to be spent, and it seems like it's in line with what we want to do. Recovered residences seems to be on the top of the list for services that are covered underneath that grant funding. And then, of course, also a lot of prevention stuff that'll go down the road as the 18 years elapse on that. So I want to make sure that I present our plan in such a way that we can get the place open. I don't want to just ask for enough money to get us over the next mark and then not be able to open this summer. My plan is in presenting to you today to ask for what we need to get open. And I believe that number, and like I said, because my plumber was out and my contractor is still doing some work on the flooring costs. And we think that we can roll with the roof. We had a roofer come out and look at it. He says he thinks we have at least 5 years left on it. And I'm okay with that. I think we'll be able to afford it. Another thing about being MAR certified, I'm sorry, I've got ADD, so I do jump around a little bit. With MAR certification, when it comes to people paying rent, if they went through a Medicaid funded treatment program, then Medicaid will pay for their stay at our house, at least until they get on their feet, and sometimes quite a bit longer. We've seen them pay up to 6 months, depending on county. It's a different number in each county, but it's a minimum of $15 a day. So it comes out somewhere between $400 and $500 a month for what we call shared living expenses. And that's everything. I mean, we're even going to have transportation. Our house manager will have a van. They'll be driving people to meetings. They'll be driving people to appointments, work, all that kind of stuff. But some guys will have vehicles. We've got a large parking lot, thank goodness. So we're hoping that eventually everybody has a vehicle. And as they exit, they've got a vehicle, they've got money in savings, and there's a plan for that built in there as well. As they get paid, we monitor their funds. We ask that they put 40% of their money into savings if it's possible. I know it sounds kind of high, but I think that if we can keep the rent low and all their expenses covered, including everything down to their Netflix account, is included in their rent. We don't want them just sitting around reading AA books all day, as much as I think that's important. I think you need a little bit of R&R time too. So we also have a slab in the back that has nothing on it right now. I think there's a house there before, but we're looking at putting it's 24 by 36. We're looking at putting a pole barn back there so that we can have a shop to do some work down the road. We would like to partner with some local builders and have kind of a apprentice program for people to get into the trade, because I know the trades are suffering. My son's electrical apprentice. And like I said, my best friend's a plumber. He has a hard time getting employees and apprentices to work in the trade. So that's another thing we want to partner on growing in our community. So right now, if I'm spitballing what we need for construction costs, we're sitting somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 to finish the building. And that's without considering the roof. And I don't think we need to consider the roof. Once up and open, it funds itself. The building really does fund itself. We're not trying to get rich. We're not drawing salaries. We're not doing anything. Now there will be this is what we call don't quote me, but I think it's a level 2 facility where the individuals govern the house themselves. We have a house manager, which we provide free rent to him and a small stipend. But he is able to work a job outside. And then we have of course, the members of the LLC who come in and periodically check on the individuals. We also partner with agencies like CHS to have therapists, group, stuff like that, and they can also stop in and check on the individuals. We have a large living room area that we want to have 12-step meetings, smart recovery meetings, basically any kind of recovery meetings anybody wants to have. If they want to start them, they can have them. You know, we're not going to set any limitations on whether or not they're faith-based or this program or that program. If you want to start it, you can start it, you know, without limitation, because I think multiple pathways and having an open mind to multiple pathways is important. So like I said, I think that pretty much covers what we're trying to do. The taxes are low out there. I think I'm sitting right around $2,000 a year, which is pretty reasonable, I think. I think it's a good place to start. We do have a phase 2 in mind, and phase 2 would be to purchase the old Officers Club, the Pentecostal Lighthouse on the base there. We've got a really nice offer to purchase that for less than what it was actually originally purchased for, and we've done a ton of remodeling to it. But it's my mom's pastor, and he's a really nice guy, and he needs a smaller church, so he wants to sell it to us and then lease the sanctuary for a short period of time while he built a smaller church. So that's a 13,000 square foot facility with a commercial kitchen, a lot more opportunity. So this isn't a one-off. This isn't just a one-time thing that we plan on doing. We want to grow. We want to put recovery houses everywhere they're needed. We don't want to stop with a male house. We want a female house, but I need more females with strong recovery before we can do that. I had one individual approach me, and she's doing great. But I had to tell her, like, you're just one person. It takes a team, you know, and we don't have a team of females yet, but I hope within the next couple of years we can build a strong team of female recoveries as well. You guys have any questions for me?
As Zach mentioned, there is tour, and I hope that at least some of you will be able to come a week from Friday, 2 o'clock. And
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to change the time.
oh, we do.
We do. I have a doctor.
Okay, not a problem. We can.
So we could do it.
now.
Yeah, we can do it at 11.
And we are not asking for any funding today for this. We want you to see it. We want you to think about it. And then 2 weeks from now, it will be back on the agenda, where there are some other items on the agenda today. But we will be back. And
I'll also have all the estimates together by that due date.
How many beds in the first facility?
18.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, we maximize space.
Nice.
3,000 square feet. I'm sorry.
All beds?
They don't have to be, but we can be. Yeah, it'll give them more space. We've got when you see it, you'll understand. Everybody, it's kind of cool. And I got the prints in my car. We didn't pull them out last time, so I didn't figure to bring them in, but you know, it was a veterinary clinic. So it has all these spaces that are like this, where the dogs used to be housed, right? So that's going to be where your dresser and your shelves and overhead storage for long-term items that you don't need to get to. Everybody's gonna have a locked facility, and it's gonna have a door and a lock, and you got the key, and you're the only one, and that's where your stuff is at. You got 18 of those, okay? So your bedroom is just your bed and a nightstand, and that's about it. If you want to watch TV, you're going to the living room. You know, you're not gonna isolate your bedroom all day. Bedroom's a place to sleep. There's the kitchen is very large and very accommodating. It has a breakfast bar that leans into the living room, which is designed that way on purpose. So that when we have AA meetings and stuff, we can have a coffee maker and everything set up there without having those guests come into the house itself. They're there, and those other doors will be locked, so they won't be going beyond that entry area. So we really put a lot of thought into the design. Yeah, I know 18 sounds like a lot, but it meets the requirements. And I wanted to maximize, they say if you go under 10, if you go 10 or under, it's just a bunch of roommates, you know, there's not enough. I modeled all of this, and all those documents you're looking at were modeled on Nathan's house in Boyne City. Jason DeBeck has been a valuable asset. He's been doing this since 2017. He's now got 2 houses. I've got letters from all his neighbors. They couldn't say better things about having a recovery house in their neighborhood. We're talking about Boyne City, right on Wallen Lake. I mean, a block away. So, you know, if it hasn't bothered them, I'm sure it's not gonna bother the trailer park next up. So. That being said, I look forward to seeing you guys on the 12th. We'll be out there. I have about 20 guys coming out to do a cleanup, to get the place ready, as much as we can for where we're at. Like I said, again, George Smith, he's not just doing the concrete work in the back for the showers and bathroom, but we've got some concrete walls that's got to come out and a chimney that's got to come down. And he said, I'll just take that down. That was really fantastic.
Time do you want to use next Friday?
11, if 11 would be great. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Carpenter's at 11.
You got
next
it.
Friday.
Plenty of
More
parking.
volunteers for your cleanup. Get a hold of the high school. There's several organizations that have volunteer hours required.
Okay, yeah, and maybe we can do that with drug court hours too.
Yeah, Honor Society, there's several.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it individuals in recovery because I want them to invest into this
Oh, yeah.
thing that not to, you know, just
Yeah.
urge the
Oh,
organization,
absolutely,
but I want the recovery community to be invested. And I'll tell you what, Tuesday night's table was full. I run an NA meeting in Oscoda on Tuesday nights, and our table was absolutely full. We couldn't fit another person in there, which is the first time that's ever happened. So it's growing already. So we're on our way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, Doug,
Oh,
give us the good news.
okay, thanks. First, I want to let you know that there are 5 live community members here from the EDC, 1 on Zoom, and our consultant Terry Holmes is also attending the meeting, so they can know who's who. Okay, so I did a sort of an overview write-up of kind of where we are and what we're doing, and so I kind of want to find out if there was any, we can go down from the top, but if there was any questions or anything that stuck out that you want to question or ask. And you do have all the resources here to answer anything you're asking. So. Want to start at the top?
Yeah, for the sake of the community and everybody else.
All
we
right,
should just
so,
get all this info out there.
The EDC, which was formed at the end of 2019, and our single purpose then was to try to bring quality high-speed internet to the county. Okay, so we've been working over the past couple, almost 2 years now. We've hit a point here where our network development has to start. And it probably couldn't have done it much sooner than this, based on the way that the data comes in and the needed data to do that kind of work. And that just literally happened last Friday when we got a kind of a green light from the engineers that they had all the data they needed. So in preparation for that, well, let me talk about the team. Aside from the EDC, new people here, Dan, the 2 Dans over here, this guy, Marlena, there's 6 out of 7 books available. We started working a while back with our provider, Prestio, a Connected Nation consultant, which is Terry Holmes, and Consumers Energy, which everybody's aware of who they are, and Connexon, which is the engineering group that worked with Prestio when they put their network together. So good qualified resources. This is all in preparation for the large BEAD grant. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's an acronym for Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. It's a $42.45 billion funding out of the U.S. Commerce Department. And it goes across all 50 states. So each state gets a tranche out of that money. In the case of Michigan, when Alcona County went through the mapping process a couple of years ago, we sort of gave them the map about how to do this, and they wound up doing the whole state. And when it came time to challenge the FCC maps recently, which are really inaccurate, we were sitting in a spot where we were due Michigan to do for 1.6 billion of that money. But because of what Michigan did, and what Alcona County assuming we did before them, They mapped the whole state and they did not put it on a resident, like, your house, go challenge your house or your block or your house and block. The state was doing that. So they have already increased the funding from 1.6 billion to 1.8 billion, because those challenges go in, they get adjudicated, and if they get granted, more money comes into the state. So in a sense, it's a kind of a backhanded grant. It keeps building that fund, and it continues on. I think the state of Michigan is the largest user, the largest one that mapped and challenged in the entire country. The second one was, I think, Texas. Very, very much less. I think our challenges were somewhere in the 100,000 range and growing. And our adjudication is catching up with that number, and they expect to go further. And I would say they're still until I think middle or late summer, we may get up to 2 billion. So that's really good news for us, for our provider, and for this project. Let's see. I spoke about last Friday, some good solid information came in from the engineers. And I wanted to get that out and in front of everybody. This is something that foreshadowed for a year or so that this was coming. And we now have good hard numbers, and I'm going to have Terry, our Connected Nation consultant, talk about it. Terry, you there?
Yes, I am. Pleased to be here. Welcome.
Your consultant. So Terry, we were talking about the engineering numbers that we were given from Connexon, and I'm gonna let you talk about that for a minute, because you have firsthand experience with them.
Okay. First, just starting off, I'm a native of Michigan, born and raised in Muskegon. I live in Colorado now, but I still come back to Michigan a lot. I helped Connected Nation about 12 years ago do the first broadband map in the state of Michigan. And I was the one that reached out to all the providers, collected the data, and we developed that first map, which has been kept up systematically over the years. As Doug said, when Alcona County did their broadband infrastructure mapping program a couple of years ago, it caught the attention of the state of Michigan. And the state of Michigan hired Connected Nation to come in and do the same thing in, I think, 79 out of 83 counties. So almost the entire state. And that was completed at the end of November. And they are the only state in the country that has gone out and identified precisely where that broadband infrastructure is, which has allowed them to go to the NTIA and challenge those broadband maps on a national level and garner more money for the state of Michigan. So kudos for the impetus there from Alcona County. As Doug said, the numbers came in Friday. I looked at them. I thought they were relatively low. We work with PIE&G and their consulting firm, engineering firm, Connexon. And I spent considerable amount of time on the phone with them, validated those engineering costs. Now, there is a disclaimer in Doug's memo there that these could rise a little bit based on their ride out when they do that ride out coming up shortly here, but it won't change a lot. So those numbers are fairly solid. And we feel good about them. So what else can I help you with there, Doug?
Just talk about the kind of numbers you've seen around the country.
Oh, well, I mean, the engineering fees we got from Connexon are about 8 cents a foot. And we're talking 1.4 million feet or 791 miles of new fiber to be deployed across Alcona County. I've been looking at recent state grants, like the Robin grant that was recently in Michigan, but there's other grants around the country. And I work in multiple states around the country. I've built cable systems, I've built wireless networks all over the country. So familiar with these fees and the engineering process, but I've been seeing them, anywhere from 85 cents a foot up to $1.50 or $1.75 a foot. And these came in at 8 cents a foot, which I found unbelievable, but I talked with the engineers at Connexon, and they have an exclusive engineering arrangement with PIE&G, and they keep their costs low. The other thing is they had really, really good data from Consumers Power on all the pole lines, all the way up to the meter at every resident and every business in Alcona County. So that helped them with the engineering and kept the cost low because the fact that Consumers Power had all that data and had it in an electronic format, a GIS format, was extremely helpful. So you got a great deal. But I also want to say that your county taking this initiative to offer an incentive for somebody to come in and build your county, the entire county with fiber is just unheard of across the country. And I spent a lot of time in Texas and California and Idaho and Kentucky and Tennessee and Florida, but I've never seen a county step up like you guys have. Kudos.
Thank you. Any questions for Terry?
Yeah, you spoke of several grants available to help in the costs associated with getting us up to speed on broadband. So you actively are pursuing those kind of grant possibilities for us now as we are your clients?
Well, the grant would have to be awarded to the provider, PIE&G, and they'll have to file the application. So whether they retain us to help them with that, I'm not sure, but it's not a difficult process. I mean, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of minutia involved in filling out one of these applications. But as Doug said, there's roughly $2 billion coming into the state of Michigan. And it will first go to those locations that are considered unserved, meaning they don't have broadband service at 25 megabits download, 3 megabits upload. So 25.3 is the threshold. Anybody under that is prioritized. The next level, when they take care of all those unserved locations across the state, the money that's left over goes to the underserved. And that's the threshold there is 100 megabit down, 20 megabit up. So, and then the served is anybody that has 100 megabit by 20 megabit is considered served, and very little, if any, money will go in that direction.
Where are we?
You're a mix. So I don't know the exact number of each location, what served, underserved, or unserved in the county. The states all have to figure that out, and so your MyHigh office is doing that now. Every state in the country also got a $5 million planning grant that went to the MyHigh office under the Department of Labor, and they're tasked with figuring that out right now. So we don't have those numbers yet.
So as Terry said, grants, when you speak about grants, those are generally in the purview of the provider. And that's what Presqu'île is going for. That's what that amount of money that's sitting in the state that they want to get a big chunk of. Primarily a build off program from the one they're doing currently up in Presqu'île. So I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just that it's a lot murkier when you're not a provider to get to that money. And when you think about the amount of money that's going to be available to us and the way we're approaching this and the kind of low prices we're getting on the engineering data, it's almost like getting a grant when you're getting this kind of numbers. So a lot of hard work was done ahead of this with Consumers Energy and the other people that supported the data to get us to this point. So those numbers are low because of that, but also because we're getting friends and family rate from through Presqu'île, because I think I said in my write-up that invoices would go to them and then they would invoice the county. So I did do a couple of examples on this piece of paper for when he said 8 cents, he was doing cumulative across all three of those build maps. But if you break them down, like right out is 3 cents a foot. If you multiply it as 125, 354. If you add it all together, it's probably going to be a little north of $300. Okay. Okay. About the write out, the increase or decrease, it can happen when they do ride out, because ride out is when they go out and they actually physically look at every pole. And if they see a spot where they might have to dig to get to a certain area or something, then that gets applied into the engineering map. So it could go up, could go down, it could be a clear sail, it could be not a clear sail. But they indicated that it probably won't be because the kind of data they got from Consumers Energy is telling them what kind of infrastructure they have. Okay, so talk about billing. The MOU, they're starting work up there on it this next week. And we'll see a first draft soon, hopefully. They have 2 boards up there that every word has to go through them. We only have 1. So, you know, Tom Michael will help us with our side. And the idea there is to solidify the relationship and solidify the build. And also allow us the opportunity to own all of the data. If something were to fall apart, that we would have authorship and rights to that information going forward. And there are a lot of other providers that are paying for money and kind of head this way, but it's really spotty, to be honest with you. With some of them already, we've had some experience with some of them already on the Robin side, and I still feel like where we're headed with provider we're heading down, and this sort of supports all that we're on the right track. Questions?
We're kind of in the front of the line for Michigan.
There's no such thing as a front of the
Oh.
line.
No, there'll be a scoring rubric that'll be used by the NTIA under the Department of Commerce on each of these grant applications. And it will look at that percentage of unserved versus underserved. It'll look at community anchor institutions that get served, libraries, schools, hospitals, first responders. And it'll look at cost, overall cost on a per location basis, a per mile basis. It'll look at the customer premise equipment and installation of each of those locations. And there's a scoring metric that they'll go through with every application. So those that rise to the top, primarily based on cost and that overall factor of unserved versus underserved, those are be the 2 primary factors. So it's hard to say until they, PIE and G, now that they've, got their data set, they know what the cost is going to be for engineering. They still haven't designed the network, so we don't know what it's going to cost to build it yet. And then they have to apply labor rates and all that good stuff. But I believe the bulk of it will be overhead attached to the consumer power poles, which is a lot less expensive than underground. But we'll see.
What's that?
Do we have a date when this is all gonna
Do you think
happen?
I'd really give you a date?
The BEAD planning is underway now. Every state has to submit a 5-year plan to tackle this digital deficiency in each state. And those are the drafts are due at the end of the summer. The final documents are due at the end of this year. The money, and that includes working with what we call the sub-grantees, the providers that will be asking for this money. So all that has to happen throughout mostly the 4th quarter of this year and into the 1st quarter of next year. And next year, the money will be doled out, and then they have 4 years, 3 or 4 years to build out the networks, or at least substantially. So we're still a year plus away.
To add to that, that's why we need to get this part going. Because then we'll be ready, rather than trying to catch up with them whenever they get through all of these gauntlets that they have to face. Our job is to continue to have that sort of, and I'm not gonna call it a gentle push, a push. Make sure we're giving them everything they need, when they need it, how they need it, and how that helps. And we've proven that now with the steps we've taken to date. We're in a really good spot right now for this. So it's just, this is an update. That's all it is. I can't give you a date, Barry, but there's the timeline, 4 to 5 years. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hoped for any more. Well, I just want to be I'd like to be towards the front of the line, because now everyone's wanting this.
Well, yeah,
And
I
I think
mean, if you're looking at, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we're in a position, I think,
We're in the best position we can be in right now. PIE&G is definitely wanting to get into Alcona County. They need to get this deed money. And they're not gonna get all of it, but when they get it, and the engineering data is gonna tell them how much they actually need. And I can't give them that answer. Terry can't give them that answer. We have to work our way through this.
Mhm.
Fall and just keep moving forward. I don't see anything on the horizon that's gonna go like, oh no, but we will build in outs for both Presque-Isle and Alcona County in the MOU. So if something goes west, we're not gonna be doing this all for naught. We're gonna have a set of data and maps and all of that. We can turn to another provider if we need to, vice versa. But I can tell you, Tom Selby couldn't make this meeting. He's flying today, so he's in the air. But they are getting ready to roll up their sleeves on the MOU, and that's really the next step for us. Just to draw us closer together.
Yeah, and I want to recognize PIE&G. They've given me as a consultant unfettered access to their engineering group and their internal employees to just call up and ask questions. So it's been great to work with them. I usually don't find that level of cooperation.
Okay, any questions from anybody here?
I just, back when PIE&G first came down and discussed this with their power poles, it only affected just a small portion of like less than about 1,000 residents.
Their members in their PIE&G nonprofit co-op.
But this with consumers will affect the entire county as a
Yes.
whole, correct?
We
So
closed
that's
the gaps.
PIE&G portion, that's no longer.
Well, no, they actually have presence in the northwest corner of the county. I think Hubbard Lake area and things like that that will be served. But they're gonna continue to serve. They want to keep migrating down towards the county here. So from their point of view, they're a nonprofit co-op, right? And they established a separate broadband company for this very purpose, so that it could do the same thing that they do with the electrical and gas co-op. When profits are realized, they get shared amongst the members. So anybody in the county will become a member. It's $5 or something, become a member of PIE&G. And when broadband will come to your house if you have consumers electricity, and everybody has that here. So they'll go right to the home. They won't stop at the pole. They won't stop at the curb. These numbers are based on right to the house. So
Yeah, right to the power meter.
to the power meter. So in terms of how that works with that little slice of Alcona County, that was their initial build, and we're part of that. But the goal is here for them to be able to keep going now. And get in here and do this whole county. We set our sights on countywide. We weren't thinking about a little bit here, a little bit there, a provider here, a provider there. Because it gets really hard to manage at the end of the day. And their numbers are more than competitive out there. So it's a nonprofit. They have to be competitive. So for us in the county, this is about the best route we could choose right now. Questions? Okay.
So what, is there a lifespan on these, on an engineering plan or map or not?
No, it all fits into that 3-4 year deal because it isn't gonna change, it's all about the electrical grid and the primary service.
One question I was wondering, depending on what their plan is, are we gonna say they have a 3-year phase-in plan throughout the county, PIE or whoever provider is?
Yeah.
When it comes to what we're gonna do as far as the engineering plans or maps, we want to know where they're going first and then do it appropriately, or do we do the whole county?
Well, the whole county will get done. It just depends on, as they migrate down, they have to build these substations and that type of thing. So I don't know if you're asking how.
Well, how far ahead of them do we want to be in doing engineering maps and mapping?
Oh, no, we're right on schedule. Yeah, there's nothing threatening our ability to, once they get in the county here, But you have to default to that provider, everyone building the system.
Right.
And I don't want to be questioning which way, you go left here, right here.
Mhm.
The goal is to get the whole county. And maybe there's people that will be further behind than the initial group. I don't know. That's the way they did the build up there. They had big segments, and as they did, they built the network out further and further and further.
When it comes to ARPA money and costs that we would pay, that would come from our county,
Right.
it would originate with them. Through, so they would say, here's where we're going. We're here, we need our engineering map. For this area or this direction.
The maps will support, the ARPA funding.
Yeah.
Okay, and my recommendation here would be, because the ARPA money is on a clock.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting.
2024, I think it ends or something, that the initial tranche that we could do this part of the engineering, I suggest that should be where it comes from. So that you're not, you probably will sit there with some extra along the way. I don't know that. I also don't know, I don't have visibility into the townships. And what if any money is available township by township, and that's something I want to ask each and every one of you to do. You start, now you've got some pretty good data about what's going on, is to go out there and start to find out each of your constituent townships. Is there ARPA money that you want to put into this? If there's a demand, it isn't, it just, I know some people have sat on their money for this reason, some people have not, maybe, but it's not mine to, they don't know me from Adam, so, you know, it's you guys that they're gonna listen to. So if you need support or more information to take out there, let me know, but I tried to give you as much as I could here.
So between, maybe Terry answered this, or, so. We purchase, you know, we buy these maps, we pay for them, they're ours,
Yes.
they have value,
Yeah,
whether it's PNG or ABC, whoever. So it's in our best interest to get them bought, get it in our,
we don't go anywhere until we do this.
right, and then we can. then
We
we
have
sell
sell
them,
skin in the game then,
right, then
real
we,
skin in the game.
right. then
And it helps at the grant level, when he goes out to the B grant, to see that you have a municipality who recognizes the fault of the FCC maps. And is somewhere between not served at all and unserved, I would say, if that was to pick it. We're probably 70% not served at all. And the other 30 or 35% is what charter inspection might call it served, but they call it served just because it's running down the street. You know, nobody's connecting, and if some black guy with a half-mile driveway wants to get connected, he's getting a bill for $30,000. So therein lies the difference. There is a path, but the electrical, it's already in place. So those problems just go that way. So yes, there is ownership.
And we'll own that data, we'll own engineering those maps, and if, you know, if it doesn't work out with Presqu'île, then we shop them.
Well, we're gonna build that into the envelope, right? To make sure that we're covered.
Okay.
Now, one other factor, when Presqu'île submits their application, they're gonna need letters of support from the county, from the townships. Any municipal governmental organization is gonna be helpful in offering up letters of support. The second factor is if they apply a match to the funds they're requesting, they score more points. The higher the match percentage, the higher they score. Your contribution will be considered part of that match. So you're helping them there as well.
Well, see, it's like I said, it's like almost like getting the grant, backhanded, they're getting it. It comes back to you in spades when they apply.
Okay.
So us underpinning them as much as we can, and I think the committee can help with, you know, mustering letters of support. I think that's part of what you need to talk to at the township level is, if you're willing to do this, maybe we'll can a letter or something that they can all sign that says we're in support of this. That helps. That's where it points.
Is there some kind of costing thing that we can? Probably not, but easily put together per address. So when I go talk to a township, I can say, you have this many addresses that would be eligible for this program. So could you offer this much? Because like, if you have one townships, okay, we're all in for 60,000, but. I don't know how to explain that even better, but you know what I'm saying? So
I can tell you the metric that the NTIA is used when they're doling out this $42.5 billion. They estimated there was, I forget the number, it was 8 or 12 million unserved households in the country. And they put an equivalent amount of $5,266 per home in estimating the cost to build out all the unserved homes in the country. So that's the only number we have today. So as your county and as the state of Michigan went out and challenged those maps, think about that. Every challenge, every successful challenge for every location was worth $5,000 coming into the state of Michigan.
They were from my cost too.
no, that's exactly what I look for.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I can
always,
use that to formulate something else.
so people are always gonna ask first, but how much is it gonna cost them? And now that Presqu'île has,
Oh,
actually implemented their business side of their installation, there are hard, fast numbers, and they know what works, and those numbers are reasonably low by comparison to what other providers are asking for. So, in this network, when it's done, whenever it's done, will be future proof. So it was part of that B, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, but part of the B grant is about the future, about what you're.
That's right.
gonna do, what speeds you're gonna be able to offer in 5 years or 4 years. I don't know what the time frame is.
Well, they have to offer a minimum of 1 gigabit up and down symmetrical when they build out these networks with BEAD funding. But most of them are designing them for 10 gigabits. 10 gig symmetrical to every location. But they may offer 1 at the beginning, or they may offer 10 or 5. I'm not sure. That's up to them. But there is one more area the county can help. As PIE&G expands through the county and they're getting out of their territory, they're expanding their territory, they're going to have to put fiber huts, which these brown aggregated stone buildings you see, they're about 8 feet by 12 feet and 8 feet, 10 feet high. They're going to need land to set those on somewhere near the right of way. So in places where you might have a park or a facility or a radio tower or whatever, and you can donate a portion of that land, that also goes to their match. The value of that donation, and you don't have to give them the land. You can just give them $1 a rent a year or something. But if they can take the value of that property and place it toward their match. And then anything you can do to help expedite permitting for the county right of way.
And those are all things that will happen along the way. Once we get
Mhm.
done. That'll have to start happening. So this is the role that we've been talking about for the last year or so that was coming, and now we're here. It's exciting that we are.
Any other questions?
Be more specific, and you have them the last 5 or 10 minutes, but. What would you say? I think I'm correct in saying that all 5 of us are strongly behind this.
Yeah. Good though.
What should we be, okay, getting our townships involved and so on. But what would you say? What direction, what recommendation would you give to us as far as the next steps we should be taking to help see that this moves forward?
Well, I think we heard some of this today. Okay, and one of the big things coming in here was to be sure I mentioned to you that manning out to the townships right now is hugely important. Because it will help, in the use of whatever general funds might need to be used. I said if available on there because I don't have visibility into who is or who has the money now or not. I know that a lot of people sat on it for a while, but
Excuse me.
that's going to tell us. So there is a spot where you can help immediately. And if it's necessary, and we talked about this, if it's necessary, once we get this moving and we get more things to talk about, then maybe we should have a meeting somewhere, maybe hold it at the high school or something, where we can invite in people, anybody that wants to come in, they'll announce it, and show up and tell them it's free food and probably packed. So we'll need to communicate along the way. But right now, this was stuff that, this very much backwater work. Right now. Boring, they don't like to have meetings when they don't have anything to say. So it was timely that the information flowed in when it did. And I understood you guys are looking for an update, so it's like, yes, well, it's a good time, all of them.
Yeah, great. The one question I do get from townships the most is, they have a time limit on the money, is how do we, how can we commit this under the rules of the ARPA? You know, obviously,
I don't know.
yeah, okay.
That's gotta be a question with the, or something to look at the rules. See how, maybe it's direct.
Well, I wasn't mentioning that for, actually for an answer, but these other people, these other guys know when they go out, that's what they're gonna say, well, how do I go about that? So we'll glad to make a plan for that. Yeah, right. But I'm just saying that's one of the things we have to
Maybe
be
even
prepared
set
to
up
answer.
a little bit of a separate fund where that money could flow from there into the county. The general fund, I don't know how you're structured, so I'm leaving that to you.
It's just something that, you know,
That's what I'm getting at is where do we buy these? Do we instigate and say, okay, let's get this on the road, let's get it bought to use this ARPA money now before it expires.
Yes, I think that's where the time frame is now. I think that.
And as long as they have a lifespan.
Yeah, be respectful of that fund.
Right. So the concern was, do they have enough of a lifespan? If we don't see any work for a year or a year and a half, the maps we purchased this year.
Yeah.
Will be utilized, that will still count.
Oh, yeah, because you think about the engineering that's being done, it's being done in conjunction with Ryder. So they're making sure that everything that they're getting, because we're using the electrical grid, there isn't a lot of, you know, going to be stuff. Everybody's looking at the infrastructure that's connected to your house.
Yeah, because I would kind of dovetail on what Adam says, when we go to townships, when we go to these folks and say, hold on to the money, hold on to the money, at some point, we gotta say, okay, now here it is.
You gotta give them the paperwork.
Yep.
Here's exactly what you do.
This is what you do, give us.
That's between, that's on us.
Yeah, I think if you guys talk amongst yourselves about how you might administrate that. But the sooner you go out and get them understanding that things are happening, that we aren't just standing back here waiting for somebody to come along. It's in place, we're in motion. And so all of these things, the quicker you get things done, the quicker we can move on to the next step. And
So I think there is monies that are earmarked. There is.
I believe so. I
Yeah.
remember this from when we first
There's
started.
money,
this.
county money, and there's also townships that have.
So it's getting everybody mobilized now. It's kind of like what I'm doing here today, is giving you the reasons for mobilization. So I usually append my emails with one word. Onward.
Well, I mean, just between us here right now, the way to do it, you gotta come to them with a package. Say, here's your resolution, here's your resolution. Here's what you need. to
Yeah,
do,
that's
here's
really
what
what-
you sign, here's the numbers, and then they say, okay, great, well, now it's done. That's.
Yeah.
Actually,
Ideally,
going to them and saying, okay, start giving us money, they'll be like, I don't even know how to start doing it.
So ideally, what we. Is if, as part of the MOU or part of whatever PNG is going to do, is we break it out on a township level for us, and they say. You know, we need engineering for Dustin Township, this is, we want this map, this map, this map, at this cost.
I think doing
That's-
that.
I don't think-
costs
no.
money. No, you're looking at, the maps you will get at all three of those levels will be complete countywide. maps.
Sure, but I need to know what is my townships, you know, what should they divvy up, you know, what's their value? I think Adam was hitting on that. How do I get Harrisville Township to say, do we go by mile? Do we say, you know, that's kind of what we've got miles here.
Well, it was kind of already decided by, you know, how much they were awarded in the first place.
In our vote.
Yeah, there was,
Total.
everybody.
I'm just
did.
saying, but I was just trying to do how, you know, because there's some town, Augusta Township, for example, they're gonna use $50,000 a bunch to do well. But they have north of 60 they give out. You know, so I just wanna have something realistic to go to them. If I can take them a packet with the resolution and stuff and sign and say, here you go. How much do you want to give us? Not necessarily, and recommended is, you know, if it's costs us $5,000 per household, blah, blah, blah. And it says, okay, we're gonna do the well and you can have the rest. Okay, great, that's fine. There's a conversation point. This isn't for today, this is right now. I'm just talking about this with everybody
Well,
here
this is
because
why-
that's what you're gonna encounter when you go out there. You betcha. They're gonna be like,
Why-
we'd love to.
This is
What,
why I
where do
want
we
to put
sign?
this in front of you, so that
Yeah.
you could begin to think about how you will talk to them. and how you will put a resolution together, and if there's a formula you can come up with. That takes the total number of all three of those mapping exercises. I think it came to north of 300,000, I thought it was 335,000.
No, it's not gonna be that much, but even whatever they can do, you know.
Yeah, I think if you get too much in the weeds on a formula, then you're gonna wind up maybe not getting what they might like.
No, but what, I don't wanna counter somebody going, well, how much is everybody else gonna pay? Is our money
Yeah,
going
because
to,
that's-
is our money going to Harrisville Township, whatever, so we understand. It's a cooperative effort,
Yeah.
you know, but anyway,
So it's gotta be some consistency
it,
across. the-
I don't wanna waste everybody's time here, I just brought it up for the sake that when we go start talking, that's the questions is gonna be, that's what you're gonna be voting for.
Well, and you could back into it by saying, what do we want to get out of the other townships? Oh, what would help us? If it was, whatever the number is, divided by each township and say everybody's doing the equal amount. Something like that, rather than trying.
I'd suggest also to think about those parcels of land for the fiber huts. And it'll depend on the final design where those will go, but if they know they have options out there behind a township hall or something, that's really gonna help their engineering and their construction. Plus it goes for the match.
We won't know that until the construction plan is done and they say we need a hut here, 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 and here. So then we have to find out where we can put it here, 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 and here. So we won't know that until a lot of this gets. Well, for lack of a better term, data needs to be put in, both on the right outside. The right outside is gonna give them most pure empirical data they can get out. We've got a lot of it right now, as Terry said, with the consumer data we gave them, but nothing like going out and walking in town, right? Going out and walking the roads, and that's what they'll do.
Any other questions?
You described those boxes again. I'm gonna take a look on that little part.
They're huts, they're like concrete
10 by,
8x12.
Yeah, typically 8x12, and they can be smaller. I'm not sure what technology, there's various technologies in fiber to the premise. But basically they're just laser regeneration stations so that they can amplify the signal and move it on down the road.
You have an email with the pictures and the,
Right, and the proposal.
in the proposal and also in the presentation they
Yeah,
presented,
that's okay.
or what Stephanie was talking about from a few years back. You have pictures and
Yeah.
everything.
Of the ones that are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, anything you guys want to add?
thank you for coming in. Keep us
Oh.
posted.
Well, you can probably said anytime, I just don't like coming in and not giving you anything.
Well, in case nobody's patting you back hard enough, kudos to you guys for keeping us on the forefront here. Really appreciate it.
It's taking care of what we need to take care of. I was always about that from the beginning. And I'm trying to give you guys everything you need, those guys, everything you need to make good informed decisions. That's it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Dan Gother, Cole Township. Just to give everybody a little heads up, as a commissioner last year and in talking especially to Alcona Township at a meeting for their board. I think you're gonna run into, you already kind of talked about it right away. They said, well, are we gonna be first in line, or is Caledonia going on, or who's giving so much money? I think the whole thing about this is that whatever they can donate, it's going to Alcona County. They can't just think about their township alone. They gotta think about the whole county's gonna get this, and when the whole county gets this, it brings in all kinds of economic development for the whole county. It just changes the whole atmosphere, the whole perspective of Alcona County. So you're gonna hear that. I heard it at Alcona Township. I mean, it was, it just got to the point, you couldn't answer it, but they gotta think, I don't know how you could do it. Try to get the same amount for every township. Some people have already spent their money, whatever they can give to the county to get this project going is probably. And just one other thing, just to keep in your mind when you talk about, they're gonna ask for prices, what's the cost of all that? I can just tell you from what I've heard from PING being on the NEMCOG board and that, seeing, hearing all kinds of presentations. Right now, they're halfway through their county, heading south, and the people that are hooked up are getting full internet for like $56 a month. I mean, that's what you can tell me your challenge. But that doesn't say it's gonna be in Alcoa, because what's this cost is gonna be. That they'll give us all that before, before it's really started, but that's kind of the number you guys can use when you're talking to your talented people saying, I know what I gotta pay for junk right now. I'm lucky to get 2 or 3 up and a half down and what I pay. So I mean, it all boils down to that.
Also, I think when you're out there, and I think I said this a couple of years ago, that this has to be thought about as transformational, not transactional. Because of what it will offer the county and the people in it. And to your point, Adam, this board has been nothing but supportive, and I think you guys should get some credit for that. You could have just as easily been scared off or swoon from another provider or something like you stayed the course. And that's what has allowed us to get to where we are. I've known along that I had full support and I continue to work that way. So just think of that word when you're talking to your townships, that this is transformational, it's not transactional.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then, Tim McClory here.
How you doing? That's a start.
That's a start.
Been a while since I fell asleep on it. We're talking about our insurance coverage.
Yes, I'm with the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. And I am trying to get this to load up here, so I don't have to bring my laptop up here. You have in front of you the renewal proposal. I think there was like 24 pages, right?
Exactly.
And in that 24 pages, there's a bunch of documents, one of which is your coverage overview. Look at the coverage overview. This is for your July 1 to July 1. You guys have been a member since 2019. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about as we go through this. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review the proposal, but if you look at it, your total renewal without the retention fund and adjustment was $200 or $227. Was really flat. And that's kind of due to, because we've had rate increases across the board. You guys have less vehicles than you did. You also have less deer than you did a year ago too.
No.
Well, maybe not less deer, but you have less vehicles because of the deer.
That's
And that's really what's driving the change in pricing. So, Carolyn asked me a question about adding a vehicle. Here we are in May, your renewal is July. So if we add vehicles between now and then, that'll affect the bottom line. It's about $500 a vehicle for police patrol vehicles. If you add them. On the Humvee, I did a little bit of research since we started. It'd be about $220 to add for just liability if you wanted to add that second Humvee.
Our 2 Humvees, you're talking with the sheriff and you want to weigh in on this, Scott?
He's not on
He
it.
was in a hallway, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, right here.
You want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll weigh in.
We've had 2 Humvees for 6 months, 8 months, I don't know. And only one of them is listed.
I've had it for a
And
couple
my
years,
call
but-
to Scott was, where's the other Humvee? We don't have it listed. And Tim mentioned that we might want to consider just a liability on it in case tornado or fire or whatever.
Well, it's the question is, I think this is that one, a 91 too. I think they're all really old Humvees.
It's within 1 year plus or minus of the one that's right.
Here's the question you have to ask yourself. If a tornado came and blew it away, would you want to replace it?
No.
Okay, so there you go. So you don't want to insure for physical damage, but if the vehicle makes it to the road and you're driving the vehicle, then for any manner, you wanna make sure it's on the list
Yeah.
for liability purposes. just
Yeah,
for the
we got this thing for free and we trailered it here and we got it basically for parts for the other one.
Oh, okay, so it's not, then I would list it, if it's not being driven and, you know, it's being parted out, then.
And certainly if we ever do get it up to where it's running and serviceable, we'll register and insure.
Right, okay, perfect, yeah, if you're gonna put it on the road, that's obviously.
Yeah,
That's, yeah,
Like business I'm in is enforcing that, so.
exactly, so,
Okay, I did. It was a question.
but it, yeah, you know. And again, we know that things may happen this evening at dusk when the deer come up with the sheriff vehicle. And other county vehicles, so as vehicles get added, this police patrol vehicles are roughly, physical damage and liability is roughly around $500 a vehicle, somewhere in there. Having said that, you'll notice that your contribution is up, $5,227. That is mostly due to the number of car deer accidents you have. And you have one big litigation as it relates to a property issue, a property enjoyment issue. So as that as it relates, I think this is probably one of the flattest renewals I've seen for this season so far. Even though we're still in May, it's not till July 1, but you guys are doing well. The way you're structured, you guys are a state pool member, so you don't have an individual self-insured retention. You enjoy the benefits of being a pool member, where for you it looks like $1 coverage on liability. And you have a $250 deductible, but anything over and above $250 comes out of the state pool retention fund up to $15,000. So if your total vehicle is $30,000, just know that $15,000 is coming out of state pool retention fund. Only $250 is coming out of your pocket, but the state pool is paying that money out. So that's why you see that adjustment on your on the proposal went from 17 to 22, and that has to do with your state pool retention fund loss ratio, which is high. I believe so far in 2023, you have 7 car deer accidents so far. Last year, I think 2022, you only had like 2 or 3 of them. The year before that, you had 8. The year before that, you had 9. So, and each one of those, depending on the severity of the damage and the cost involved, affects your retention fund loss ratio, which underwriting does pay attention to. And they've kind of let it go for a while, but this year they made that adjustment to recoup some of those funds. Now, having said that, you also are starting to enjoy the sweet spot in your net asset distribution, and you're kind of getting there. I anywhere between 5, 7, and 8 years, you start hitting your sweet spot as it relates to how much money you get back from our declared net asset distribution. The good news is even after our market losses, we declared a $29.7 million net asset distribution for this year. We don't know what everybody's portion is yet because they just declared it. And normally Bob or I are doing this, down the road a little bit, and we have those numbers. I don't have those numbers yet today, but I would wager guess they're going to be similar to what you got last year, because you guys jumped from like 1,800 to 5,700 in 1 year. I do congratulate the chief on taking part of those bumper guards and doing what he can. As the chief knows, we give you $500 up to 50% funding up to $500 for bumper guards, which should help in the severity of the damage.
Not the frequency.
But not the frequency. I mean, we were talking deer whistles, and I think those don't work very well according to the research that I've done. I wish we could do something to help you out with those car deer accidents. What's that? Lead, yeah, or yeah.
Well, you could make applicable
Right.
the ambulance cost for car deer that you do for the sheriff.
Oh, that's reflected in there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's in there.
Yeah.
That's all in there. So what your portion of the net asset distribution is, I don't know. What I do know is we have a ton of money in grants, in our grant funding right now. So I encourage you and your department heads to look at a grant list, and if there's something, I'm fairly certain you have something in your budget that that we can help you pay for it. If you look at our grant list, if our grant list grows and grows and grows and grows. There's a good percentage of it is law enforcement related. We give 1.75 million a year back to our members in grants. And it's the grants that are in our grant program they're standardized. There's a standard grant list of about 50 or 60 grants. Then we have certification and accreditation grants. Just it's free money. That's the way I look at it. I know you have an internal IT person. I don't know what costs you've incurred as it relates to general cybersecurity training or cybersecurity efforts, but we have 3 cybersecurity grants. We'll go back a full year. So if you look at it and say, oh my gosh, we just did that. Anything you're doing in general cybersecurity training will do 50% funding up to 25,000. Vulnerability penetration testing, see how your people are using the system, make sure that they're using it right. That's 50% funding up to 10,000. And then multi-factor, 2-factor authentication will do 50% funding up to $10,000. So those I find, and I know you guys don't contract IT, you have your own IT person, but a lot of our members are spending money on this stuff, but they're not applying for the grants, and that's free money. It's just sitting there. And if you've already done it, and I'm sure your IT person already has, quantify that, submit a grant, you'll get 50% of it back. So there's a lot of money out there to be had, and I just, we want to make sure that Alcona County is taking the most advantage of the benefits that we offer to. So as it relates to the proposal, I will open up to any questions. I don't want to go through it and give you, turn it into insurance 101 seminar. People be drooling and sleeping.
I had a quick question.
Sure, go for it.
I just had pulled last year's
Mhm.
renewal, and I see that net asset distribution. I actually think it was this amount right here. And that's where I said between the difference in the 5,000 and the renewal, I think that depending on what everybody gets,
Okay.
it'll roughly be about the 5,000, which is almost what the increase is. Oh,
Right, well, I expect it could be about the same, so.
okay.
But you also get a state pool retention fund distribution too. Which adds a little bit to
A
that.
little bit, like, it
It's
was like
a-
$500 last year. I
Yeah,
think,
so
but-
that gets you over the $5,000, but I don't know what it is. As soon as I know, you'll know. And then we'll communicate that information to you.
And I thought that doesn't come out until like almost June.
Well, it depends on when you renew. So I expect that because we're doing this early, once the renewal is processed and they figure out what the numbers are and you've renewed, that money will come out right away. It'll be sent to you right away. Or you won't have to wait till. If the renewal is done and completed by, next couple of weeks and as I know they're getting close to figure out what the amounts. We're probably a couple of weeks away from finalizing that. Then the checks will go out right away if you've already renewed. So you're not gonna have to wait till August or. It's all related to when you renew. It's really what it comes down to, so.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't on the board last year. I know, what was just curious, what did our liability insurance decrease with the closing of the jail? Do you have that knowledge, or did we see any benefit on that?
$10,800.
10,800?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a significant portion of your law enforcement charge
Yeah.
as it relates to.
And that was prorated.
Yeah,
From
that
the
was,
time of closure, so
right.
I thought it brought it down to like 73,000 or something,
Mm-hmm.
so
Thanks.
For a full year. 20-ish.
Any other questions as it relates to the proposal in front of you?
When do I expect the renewal paperwork?
I was hoping Bob would have sent you the DocuSign envelope. Should happen anytime now, so.
And then I can put it on the agenda and you'll need that, the board's approval for renewal and.
Yeah,
okay.
once you approve the renewal of this process, you'll sign the DocuSign. We do everything electronically now. We send her a DocuSign envelope with this. And it will include vehicles that may be added between now and then. So like if that vehicle list is accurate, we're good. If we add vehicles between now and then, they'll probably either endorse it onto the policy prorated. Like I said,
The boat.
the boats, we don't count the boat as a vehicle, so.
But has that been insured?
We cover all marine property. We cover marine property up to $1 million per occurrence, so. It doesn't necessarily, is a boat over $50,000? Oh, if it was, I'd have to inspect it for a weekend. But just for risk management purposes.
We
No.
tried that one.
Yeah, no, they're all, that's automatically covered, if any of your marine property, even your docks and launches and stuff like that are covered, so. We
Any
don't protect.
additional property would be also if it was purchased or acquired.
Yeah, we
that
give you
need to be-
180, we give you 180 days to let us know, because I know you guys end up getting properties due to foreclosure situations. Are you referring to like getting houses or any buildings or anything like that?
No, we have, that was not what I was referring to. but,
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder. Just any other properties. I don't know if the library contract included the county paying for insurance on that building. And that wasn't, I don't know if that was looked into, but I totally forgot.
Curtis Township.
Yeah. The veterans we're looking at. Encompassing his property. Well,
So
I'm just asking.
if we can always endorse something onto a policy, that's not a problem at all, so.
Okay.
No matter when you add it, if it's before, we'll endorse it on, at renewal, you'll have your renewal, and then you'll have an endorsement adding the property.
And you didn't see it on here, Cheryl? No, but the other libraries are on here, right?
They should be, yeah, because we absorbed the library, I think the second year. Because they had their own policy, they were
Yeah.
trying to figure out why they had their own policy, because they really didn't need it, because they're department of the county, so.
Picked up another one.
Yeah.
May or may not be covered by the first month.
Any questions?
Any questions?
We've done the track.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay, okay, well, yeah, Bob is your risk manager, he's otherwise occupied, so he set me on your secondary, your original. The original, right. He'll sign a DocuSign envelope, it'll go to Stephanie, and then you guys can process it after that. All right,
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
all right, thank you very much. You have my number if you need me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And when you walk out there, would you pop your head in the IT guy's office there and tell him about those
I will,
IT things?
Yeah.
You know where he's at?
yeah, he's right at the end of the hall on the right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he may have gone, he may be.
Oh, yeah, he lives at three.
You want to recess?
I would like,
I have a motion for recess. Anybody else?
I would be the only one.
Board of recess. All in favor?
I-
Recess it is. 5 minutes, please.
Yeah. Are we off?
You're good, and I don't read lips.
Yes.
Take a motion to go back into session. Seconded. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. We're gonna give the clerk 20 seconds to get in here.
Adam.
Motion by Carolyn and seconded by Terry. I need a roll call when he sits down.
Yes.
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Johnson, Brumman,
Yeah.
Brady,
Yes.
Small.
Okay, moving on, do claims. Yeah. Sure, I'll do it. We were gonna do the closing.
do down at.
And then do the second public comment. We should be able to turn through this quick.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve pre-authorized claims, and open claims presented for payment between 4/19/2023 and 5/3/2023 for check numbers 150-569 to 150-686, and e-check numbers 2102 to 2114 for a grand total of $1,058,990.21.
Second.
Seconded by Dave. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Johnston.
Yeah.
Brumman.
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
Brady.
Yes.
Yax.
Yes.
We have the MIFSM budget amendment as divided by Carolyn. You want to speak to this for a minute, Carolyn?
As you all know, the cost of medical examiner went up. We knew it was going to go up. Not particularly surprised at the amount it went up. And I was so moved, I don't have to do
It is.
this. We make an adjustment of $44,750. Put into from 101 general fund 890 activity 890 going into general fund activity 648. And thank you to the treasurer for addressing it. The lower portion of that, you can see the difference in the breakout.
So motion,
Yes, it was.
I'll second. Any comments, questions? Roll call.
Small.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
Next is the opioid request proposal.
Well, I sent you all the actions that the opioid committee was asking of you. And said if you have any questions, please give me a call or email me or whatever. And based on that, since there were none, no contacts to me, etc. And these were all brought to you, if you recall, at our last meeting. For those who were present. And so at this point, I will move to offer for authorization of project 1 to opioid in committee in an amount not to exceed $10,800 during the first 6 months.
Who supported? Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yeah.
Brumman.
Yes. This does not require a line item adjustment in the budget, but it's not a movement of funds out of one place and into another. The line item is not. Project 2 is to authorize a letter to Sunrise Center providing assistance not to exceed $5,000 for scholarship dollars for an Alcona resident unable to be approved for treatment funding or having exceeded their allotted treatment dollars. These dollars are not cumulative. They do not bill.
Second. Who seconded? Any questions?
How did you decide who gets it? I just want to don't point from this. The approval. Who's gonna be there?
Other than saying who gets it.
If they have a candidate who Sunrise on my bed.
Sunrise. Two candidates, so they're there, are they choosing? They have two Alcona residents?
Well,
Both in need?
whoever. It only needs one every 25 years.
Okay.
Because there's one.
First come, first served, basically.
Yes,
Okay.
basically. They're not gonna have two the same day.
Move second, any other questions? Roll call.
Johnston.
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes. And the last one, is to, allow $10. We may put an ad in the paper, or we don't know how that's going to be spent, but it's a project that we'd like to move forward on. In the Roxton distribution box in a location agreeable to building and grounds and the sheriff. Right now, they're talking about, but this is not with having talked to building and grounds or the sheriff. Under the covered porch here. We originally were concerned about temperature, but we have learned that that is no longer really an issue. I will still move.
Over to Dave, second.
And you also got a flyer in your package.
So it only costs $10, or only putting $10 now?
They cost
It
nothing.
does not cost anything for us.
Oh, you just need something to earmark on
We
the.
just need,
Got it.
yeah, we want a placeholder for the project, and that was probably the easiest way to do it.
Any other questions? Then, roll call.
Small.
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Okay,
And again, I hope that you're all gonna be able to attend. A week from Friday, at Dr. Carpenter's old office at 11:30.
we change. Well, maybe get for that. So do we decide we do not have to take action on the phone service? Jack can just do that as well.
Yes.
If he has the authority from us.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. No, I just want to make sure before I move on, I don't want to be a roadblock. Okay, next up is the finance report. We had a meeting this morning with Stephanie, with some questions that she's gonna track down some answers for us. Cheryl, do we have any money that we around today?
The MIFSM and the ones that have been coming through have been completed. The only other, that was the one that was an increase. Was. And that was single by Carolyn.
Okay. From the finance, I haven't seen any actual movement on the audit or anything from there, in my emails, but I'll let the treasury report cover that, so. That's it for finance, let's hear anything, Dave. That is good. Okay. That would move us to the personnel report.
I don't have anything. You sent you guys something, you guys done anything on that? Or not?
We're still waiting on data.
No, nothing.
Okay, the treasury report it is.
Report it is, what were you letting me comment on?
I wasn't letting you comment anything, I haven't heard anything from the audit yet.
Oh, I
And
haven't.
if you had, then you would comment, and if you don't, then we haven't.
I have an email into the auditor for the closing entries. There was, supposed to be fixing the Cedar Lake funds. Last year, it opened a new fund for us for maintenance. And they were working around that stuff, and revamping the funds, because right now we have 4 funds that are involved in that project and the overall, and it needs to be reduced to 3. Because there's only so much money that's being involved in that. Settlement's done. I am working with ACCOA, the new, I'm assuming bookkeeper, who's handling the finances. I will be getting their final check to them I have that was put by the clerk's office last week. So then settlement will be completed, only a few reports left for the state. Working on the ARPA or SLFRF compliance report that was done on the 28th of last month. Everything is in line. And we had an ARPA committee meeting that I zoomed in on. And that would be another thing that would need board approval if that's not on here. That I see, the ARPA approval, is that going in your basket? Okay. So we'll talk about that when it's your turn. We have not a lot going on other than the sale and getting straightened around with the foreclosed properties. There's, that's really all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Or any concern?
How many foreclosures did we get?
We originally started with 13, we are down to 11, two were, from the sale, and we have a possibility of one other. We'll find that out, the sale is going to be, I believe, August 8th. So we'll have. 10 or 11 properties in that.
Thanks, Cheryl. Clerk's report.
I don't have too much either. I did miss communication yesterday from the Fair Board. President Doug Travis wrote stating that they appointed Les Thomas to a one-year term as a board member.
I think you emailed that. Nobody did.
Oh, really?
Seeing it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I saw it. Never mind.
Okay.
So did we.
And then basically just working with MMRMA in regard to the insurance renewal. All the departments that are involved, with all the portions and returned them, and then they made this proposal yesterday, so. Really about
Do we need to approve it?
all we have. Once they get those DocuSigns to me, I can put it on the agenda for the next meeting, because we have plenty of time.
Okay. What's for next meeting, sorry?
The renewal,
Okay.
and for the, I can submit for your signature.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Steph, what about your court dates there? You talked about you sent an email on court dates.
Oh, yes, for the county lawsuit. I have on my calendar on May 10th, Bay City. But I don't remember why I wrote it down there, if it was pre-trial, if that's even still a go. They've changed dates for that so many times. I'll get a hold of the attorneys to see what it was for and to see if it's still going. Otherwise, there is a pre-trial. I highly doubt that there will be a settlement, so it's going to jury trial for 4 days. And I will offer anybody who wants to go down. I surely do not want to go down there and sit for 4 days straight out of my office, so I offered to do the Monday to get it started and the Thursday to see it end, hopefully. Carolyn has offered to go down, but a member from the county has gotten here. Yeah, I was gonna check on those dates.
You have them now or not?
I do. I just have to go back through my email to see what they were scheduled for. I don't recall. I think I did. I think I mentioned it in my email. But if anybody else wants to take the place,
Yeah, I'll be happy to have somebody stand in line in front of me.
Email finalized dates and we're going to volunteer. We'll send
I
it.
think they were in that email. I think I put the dates from and to in that email, but I'll resend it.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess real quick, you'd like to make a motion to accept Les Thomas? I moved. I was asking a question, but sure.
I don't know. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? This is a roll call or
No.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, so communications you have in your packet, yeah, I should have made that way sooner. What if we do the? Yeah, I know. Well, okay, let's do committee reports.
attended the
that.
district health meeting, progressing well on our building down here. So I won't give an estimate of when anything is gonna be done. But, so, other than that, I've got nothing.
Dave? Library. They are starting, working on the, Lincoln Library that had the damage done this winter. Everything's in there. Hoping to be done within a week or two. Then ARPA, I guess we have to take a motion.
Presented to the board, it was approved by the ARPA committee.
Yeah, so we approved a $13,065.12 for a interface that works between the prosecutor and the court system. So we took that out of ARPA and approved it, so we need a motion. I'll make a motion to approve $13,065.12.
Support.
Nope. Beat me to it, supported by Terry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would ask that the amount be listed as, can you give it to me again, please?
$13,065.12.
13,065.
$66. Take change it up. Perfect.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
What else you got, Dave?
That is about it. I was gone out of the country.
Yeah.
How many deer do you have?
I don't know a whole lot, but I am working on putting together a workshop for solar ordinance stuff, so I can report more on that next time. What do you got, Craig?
Veterans Affairs, we are still in the process. SME has picked it up. They haven't done any boring or radar yet. Talked to Casey, who is our representative, said he hoped this month. They were being very enthusiastic if they can get it done in June. I'll be surprised, but I hope so. So we've separated out the two pieces of property. I asked them to accelerate the Second Street one, 222, the second piece of property. They are gonna do some work on the first piece of property that was looked at in addition, but we're trying to get the second one done quicker. So that's everything that's going on there. We have some interest on some blight elimination. I don't know if anyone's gonna fly on it, but maybe. We only got 28 days left. Easy money.
Oh,
There you go.
Like,
You talked about property or anything.
Yeah.
How about you,
No.
Carolyn?
Opioid. We can see that. Now, North East Michigan 211 routine meeting, to continue to do invoices and work with the executive director. LAPT, local emergency planning, FEMA has a line training on May 5th. The damage assessment training, the dates yet to be determined, amateur radio class will start in June. They have a need for new batteries for the races communication trailer and it's used for search and rescue teams, for county sheriff, for fireworks, observation and report. The local emergency planning has submitted their grant application for material emergency preparedness. It was submitted approximately March 1st. It's for $1,500 and it takes approximately 90 to 120 days to come through. As far as hazardous sites, we only have one that qualifies as a tier 3, and that is the Viking Energy. 911, they're going to begin fire siren tests this Saturday. It will be the first Saturday of each month through the summer, and it will be at 1 p.m. So if you hear it and it's 1 o'clock, we're glad you hear it, but hopefully in theory it will be just a test. The interview team is ready and they have a couple of candidates. Well, they have lots of candidates, but only a couple that begin to meet qualifications. They're going to extend the ad for another short period. ACCOA, they're evaluating some of the services that are utilized to the extent that they are utilized and the value to the seniors and then the cost for their services. Evening meals are being served at 5 p.m. through Monday through Thursday. If it's over 60, the contribution amount is $3 if you are able to pay that. Under 60 years of age, it is $6, and you need to call for reservation. I think it's the morning of them. I apologize because I don't have that. Hunt board meeting. There was one of the things that, well, it's being almost entirely staffed right now by MSP. Alpena City lost their guy, and Presqu'île lost theirs. And that was all that we had for a while. So they've now got staff with MSP. And with the hope that they will be able to do some more. Do you think around that punch?
I can elaborate if you'd like.
Pardon?
I can elaborate a little bit if you'd like.
Go for it.
Basically, everybody's staffing issues that I've had for the last couple of years have kind of caught up everywhere else. And people who, the organizations that have supplied an officer to hunt have had to pull them back in for the road patrol and staff their road patrol like we had to do several years ago. So now what Carolyn says is accurate. The hunt team is staffed only by MSP officers. There are no local officers on that team anymore, which is really disappointing because it's a multi-jurisdictional team. And really to get your bang for your buck out of them, you have to have a guy on the team that's working your county in your area. And you can see that by the numbers of activity and arrests that go on. Since we haven't had anybody on there, less than 2%, between 2% and 3%, I should say, of their activity is being spent in Alcona County, which is pretty disappointing, but that's reflective in our involvement with it. And we're paying the minimum amount just to stay maintained with the group. But there's also some other people doing the same thing as us now that haven't been.
So far in 23, we've had 3 arrests in Alcona County, 27 in Alpena. This is from January 1 through March 31st. Sorry?
Would opioid money qualify for?
No.
Okay. That's what I don't know if drugs.
Said we need to bring ours up to full staff.
No, well, I'm just.
Also, Makedo's meetings have been moved to the 3rd Tuesday of the month rather than the 1st month. That's about all I have.
Okay. Let's do our last public comment.
Poker face.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, board, ladies, members. My name is Larry King. I live at 1287 East Tate Road. I live on the border in Guston Township. I live on the border between Michaela Township and Guston Township. I'd like to commend the road commission people and those involved in the recent repair of the culvert on East Tate Road. As you know, it rolls well above ground, preventing 4 families being able to go to their work and do other activities from day to day. They were able to complete it in one day and was very much appreciated. They have also done a good job in snow plowing this year, as well as recently doing some road brushing, clean out timbers and such along the side of the road. They're to be complimented for that. resulting from the snow plowing and such, has pushed all the stone or gravel or materials that were on the road off to the sides. During this time period, I've had up to 8 inches of culverts in the middle of the road to try to drive through. We have no gravel, we have no limestone, we have nothing from the corner of Cruiser Road all the way back to the end of my home, which is at the very end of the road as such. We're in bad conditions. I understand problems couldn't be done because of the frost loss and such, when I initially went and talked to ladies at the road commission. The thing is that we're over with that now. I'm very familiar, though I have not lived in this community except for the last year. I'm very familiar with it. My family line is Franklin. My wife's family line is Becker. Her grandfather was the road commissioner, as many of you know. So I'm very familiar with the roads and such and things involved. My father, Edwin King, worked for Wolverine Tractor and Equipment Company and was a main supplier to this location in the county to make sure that you guys got all of the parts and such that you needed to keep your roads going. So I'm asking you, I don't know if the decision on repairing the road comes from Michaela Township, Guston Township, or from the board here. But this road needs to be fixed. I mean, today with the last set of rains, it's almost as bad as it was before. And we can have these things. So I'm asking you, through your groups and how you do things, to have this taken care of. I would very much appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we go into close, if you just can wait 2 minutes, okay, I can speak to some of that.
Sure.
Well, we'll close now.
And-
Yes, oh, go ahead.
I'm wondering about the resolutions from Naglin and Livingston County. Is that taken off the agenda?
They were just communication.
Just communication.
They were never on the agenda. Just as a communication from other counties.
So just that you got those resolutions.
Yeah, you'll always
Yes.
see those in the communications, it's 9 times out of 10, it's other counties. Resolution,
They're required to send them to us. Well, if they require it.
if they require it.
Anybody else have a comment? Anybody online? Okay, I really want to talk. 2-minute recess. I've motion for 2-minute recess and then we go into close. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I think everything.
Leonard? Yes.
Motion to come back into session. I make a motion. I'm seconded by Harry. All those in favor? Okay, now I'll make a motion to go.
Oh, I'm voting no.
We'll need a roll call. Roll call for who just showed back up.
Yax,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Drummond,
No.
Brady,
You're not here?
That's.
This is just for us coming back from recess.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I thought you'd moved on.
Brady,
Now there's a, yes.
Small.
yes. Now there's a motion on the table to go to close. I make a motion to go to close. Second. Who the second? I should make you do it. I don't get to know. Okay,
that's a roll call.
all those in favor?
That's a roll. call.
Roll call it is.
Yax,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Drummond.
No.
Carolyn left. You left the building? Left the building, right? Right. Oh, he said it was.
Yes. Okay, anyway,
Roll call,
coming back in the session, roll call, please.
Yax,
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Brady,
Here.
Small,
Sure.
Brumman. Absent.
Any additional comments concerned? Okay. We'll adjourn the meeting till next regular meeting on May 17th, 2023.